Welcome once again. As you know, here on the Tim Modise Connection, we talk to people who make things happen and have got a story to tell. You know, we can do with a little bit of upliftment of our mood on a day-to-day basis. There are many things that are a problem or challenges to us in our lives, but then there are individuals who quietly, silently, and sometimes not so quietly go about the business of life, create their careers, and stay in their lane for decades in some instances, and still remain the top dogs of their game. And one such person is the multiple award-winning broadcaster, Nothemba Madumo, who's a jazz aficionado in her own right. We're going to talk about so many beautiful things, I think. I'm looking forward to our conversation. Welcome, Nothemba.
Yeah, thank you, Tim, for inviting me.
Sure. Let me start with the awards, right? Because if you've received numerous such awards, sometimes you may not place any value on them, but there might be one or two of them that stick out for you. Which one do you cherish the most?
I guess all of them are important because it is, an acknowledgement. Somebody sees me, what I do, and appreciates what I do. And my awards, if I remember them well, I started receiving them when I was still at Radio Bob for Best Presenter or for television. For some, I think I got 2 or 3 times in a row kind of thing. I was doing news, I was doing music shows, I was doing magazine shows, I've done a variety of things. Yeah. Even for radio, I think I got one for best produced jingle for my radio show. Kind of thing. I've received. You remember this? The Sunday Times used to have
the People's Choice or something.
Also an award for what was they had a supplement. The Star newspaper rather had a supplement for entertainment. And I got an award there for also best presenter on.
And so it goes. Let me just leave it there because I'm taking you to another place. You must search through your mind.
My mind and try and dig back into.
But in a way, I was trying to work back to your start in the game and the business of broadcast. When you mentioned Radio Pop, I'm sure there are people who are grown up today.
Yeah.
Grown up South Africans, young adults who say, Radio Pop, what is that? That's a long time ago when you talk Radio Pop. Now we're talking the 80s, I think.
But my time in broadcasting started before Radio Pop.
Yeah.
As much as I was born in Johannesburg, my parents moved to Swaziland. And when I started university there, I then started working part-time on Swazi television. I started as holiday work, which I was just previewing, the programs. When you preview the programs, you check for duration and whether or not the tapes are, there's no breakage or whatever, and there's no swearing or language, kind of thing. Then they held auditions for they wanted continuity announcers and newsreaders, and I got that job. So as a result, I was the first person at university to have my own TV in my room,
Courtesy of the broadcast company?
I was earning money.
Yeah, okay, so you could afford.
I could afford, And of course, my interest in broadcasting then grew from that as well. And
so from university days, in a sort of accidental manner, you move into broadcasting. And how many years later, and you're still in broadcasting? How many years ago was this?
I started, I think at university, it was in my first year. I think I was 17 or 18 years old, So until this moment, I have been in broadcasting. So television, radio. Television, Swazi TV, then Bob TV, then SABC, then ETV, and
I've been moving around like you have. But
you know how it goes.
as a variety of programming as you have.
Exactly.
I know for now, when we are associated predominantly with music and specifically jazz music, but you've done other things.
I have. I mean, at Radio Pop, I did current affairs as much as I did jazz, as much as I did the morning. Do you remember at the time when, the morning 9 to 12 was apparently a woman's slot, because apparently women are at home. I don't know, but content was geared towards that. I've done early morning, Saturday breakfast. I've done I don't know what
magazine programs,
the whole shebang.
Yeah, but I mean, what does it mean to you, this work that you have done in broadcasting, in the media, and you're still doing it up to now? And when we had a chat before we started this interview, we were still talking about new ideas going forward. I know it's like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's addictive, but it's something that when you do it, probably you think, I'll do this until my last breath.
You know what, Tim, and I'm sure you probably, have the same, belief as I do about, media and working in this medium. Is what it does, in terms of it communicates, information, and also the impact it has. So it becomes very important, what is it that you want to communicate, and what impact do you want to have? And the impact is obviously to change for the better, as a society, or, even if it's just one person who thinks differently because of what you said, or what you're communicating, of what you're sharing. My idea is, I just want a better society than than where we are now. And a lot of things that people are doing, or the way they behave, are because they don't know better. So if I find myself in a position where I have access to information that I can communicate and share, and uplift and change somebody's life, and these are the platforms that we use to do that.
Well, somebody, I'm trying to remember who, referred to that feeling that you mentioned as constructive discontentment. You are unhappy, but in a constructive way.
Yeah.
Implying you want improvement, like you've just said it.
Yes, it's just, can we be better than, human beings?
Yes.
Can we do better? Can we think better? Can we have hope and know that actually it's not as, it can be better than it is?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something, again, outside this conversation, your interest in mental health. Obviously, that interest is born out of certain observations, I'd like to believe, that you are making in our society. Why would something like that matter? Not that it shouldn't matter, but I just want to hear it from you, the person who's applied her mind on this matter, to tell me, what do you see and why should it matter to me or anybody else?
Mental health, to be quite frank, we all suffer from mental health. When you are a person who lies all the time, it's a mental health problem. You are cheating all the time, it's a mental health problem. You are, the fact that we when we grow up, we're not capacitated, we're not given the tools to deal with the things that happen around us, be it a death, or be it a loss, or be it even any gains or whatever. We're never taught or equipped with how to deal mentally with a lot of things. And as a result, I believe a lot of the time, the state, this negative and horrible state of our society is simply because we don't know how to deal with things. And a lot of people believe that mental health, you have only a problem if you're institutionalized, But in the meantime, No, actually. The fact that every aspect of our lives has to do with you making a decision, and how you make this decision is based on what you know or what you're exposed to or what you believe in, you believe in based on your religion or traditional upbringing or whatever the case, or your education, and all these, and some of these are very conflicting and confusing a lot of people. The fact that we have sexism, we have racism, we have all these isms.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, actually, being human is not as easy as it sounds.
Absolutely.
And I'll bring it back to South Africa. I want to ask you certain questions about what you see in this society. But I'm imagining we're born into systems, right? The immediate one is your family, and then you must attend school, and then you are born into a group of people, cultural group, and then you are denominated racially, gender, as you said, gender-wise. But then I think the more complicated systems include living in a society, whether it's democratic or not, for instance, or the economic system, where you fit in the setup. Now, month end, the debit order, we must make money, and that's not what you were thinking about when you grew up. And so it goes, and then suddenly now it's what you must deal with immediately. It's what you must deal with in your community context, and then the other things that are beyond your control.
And the fact that I must view you, Tim, and decide and make a judgment on you based on what job you do, how much you earn, where you live, whether you're married or not, or or how old you are, or what you wear, or what. That in itself is a big problem, because then you mentally are obsessed with, I need to fit in so that I am viewed in such a way. So now you're going to go out of your way and break you to the bank because you
want to impress
because now we are kana hankatswa mo kiliana batlari next thing there you lock yourself in the house because you don't have a car, you don't have a whatever, that in itself is creating a mental state where you are not living your authentic and your true self because you are worried about how society views you.
But in your case, I mean, you have lived what you care about, what you are interested in, and sustained it over a long period of time. How do you do that? I mean, once you highlight what you have highlighted, I get an impression that you've thought about it, obviously. So how do you do it the right way or the better way for yourselves? For yourself, so we can learn as the others listening to you.
You know what? When I started in this industry, there wasn't we were not celebrities. You know what I mean? No one would say, hey, can I have your autograph, or can I take a picture with you, or whatever. It was like you were appreciated for the work that you did, not for how you look, or what, or where you stay, or what car you drive, or whatever the case may be. And that drove the passion, because you're doing the right thing. It is, having the right effect and impact, and people are appreciating. And then you want to do better all the time, and so that, the gospel spreads even further with whatever you're doing. And then obviously as society is, evolving, and all these things are being adopted from wherever in the world, we find that the value of our lives is now being reduced lower. We are no longer, doing things for the value it adds. But more, it was just everything is just superficial, and it's quick, and
substance does not
no,
matter that
the
much.
substance is no. It's and it's like, okay, and it's a lot about, I don't know if you've noticed as well that even, and sadly, governments or even corporates, they are now putting money into things that are not, that don't necessarily add value to society. But it's just these quick things that, who's popular, and even the saddest part is that for me, it seems like there's a concerted effort to dumb down society. Don't think about things that are important.
Yes,
think about
yes.
things that trivial and superficial, and because if you think about the things that are important, you're going to start being wise and woke and start challenging the powers that be. So stay ignorant, concentrate on things that are groove and frivolous things and whatever so that you don't question things, so that they can do what they need to do and succeed without society questioning anything, kind of thing.
You come across as feeling very strongly about this, that there's a sort of deliberate dumbing down of society. Tell me why. I mean, what do you pick up? What do you see the outcomes of this dumbing down to be?
The outcomes is that the outcomes are what saddens me is because the generations that are coming after us are no longer going to focus about humanity, and especially on this African continent. And just when we were like embracing ourselves as Africans and celebrating ourselves and acknowledging the fact that, man, we have for years been told that because of our skin, we are not human. We have no brains. We are not intelligent. We can't think. Meanwhile, we have been the ones who've contributed over the centuries to the beautiful art that exists around the world. They steal it even. But they make us believe that it's not. It's of second. It has no value. But just when we were discovering the fact that, man, we've been lied to all these years. Look at us. We are kings and queens of not just the continent, of the world. They want what we have, but they don't want us to see what we have.
But do you get a sense that this frivolity and superficial things that you see, and I suspect you mean predominantly in the media anyway, that's where the
media plays such an important role in ensuring that things stay frivolous. You pick up the paper or you see the headlines. What's in the headline?
But now I want to ask you this: that if that's the case, is there anybody pulling the strings from somewhere to make that happen, or
this is my suspicion? This is my suspicion, Tim.
Well, I love a conspiracy theory.
Yes, this is my conspiracy theory that you are then going to make sure that the people that you employ are people are not going to question.
Yeah.
They're not going to question. No matter why you say I must write about Tim, or Tim was caught sneaking into an event as I invite you. Is that news? Eh?
I don't know. I get you. I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's like, why am I writing about that and not writing about what Tim does and the impact that he does, whose lives he's affected, even speak to the people that want to, celebrate Tim. No. So there must be a deliberate effort that don't tell people about the things that matter.
Sure.
Tell people about the things that are stupid. And then society, my worry is society buying into that and thinking this is what life should be about. nothing.
Yes.
Yeah?
And the element of, for lack of a word, maybe even disregard or disrespect for that which you should appreciate, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like now, I appreciate that you are here and we can talk to you.
Sure.
Not because of the celebrity status, but because of the contribution that you've made in broadcasting for this long, up to this moment, and still going strong in the game. I think that's something worthy of celebration and respect.
Thank you.
And that's the point of talking to you here. And on top of that, I would suggest that your contribution to the arts in the country, on top of that, I mean, music specifically, is something that has to be celebrated and respected. And I suspect artists themselves know this, and they tell you, those who don't, but nang jealous, but to your face. We are here up to now, thanks to you.
No, you know, the artists that I deal with, they do appreciate the work that I do. And especially with the jazz show, because over the years, jazz has now been relegated to the cousin in the family that everybody just gets annoyed with. It's like, oh, there they come, there he comes again, or there she comes again, but you know, kind of thing.
Yes.
Because you're not fitting into this picture that they want painted, but the artists appreciate it because it's one of the very few platforms they have to showcase their art form, and it's for me what is important for the work that I do for jazz, not only on radio, because I even have a company called Forever Jazz, where I do events and collaborate with other people who do events that are jazz related, because I want the perspective about jazz changed, where it, previously it was old men sitting under a tree, old men sitting under a tree on a Sunday, drinking beer, whatever. When it's actually jazz is more than that, because of the way it's created, and also because of the message that comes out of that music. The way it's created, meaning that it is musicians that come together, all of them with different talents, and it is such that it's such a unifying, space where everybody is respected for their contribution, even though I may be the main star here, but the musicians that I bring to support what I do, I respect them and their contribution to what I do. And we all have a common vision of creating this piece of work or music or whatever. And I always joke and say, if governments were run the way jazz is created, would have, because the democracy lives in jazz.
Would have no load shedding.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Or shortage of water. Proper
I'm joking
transport,
about it, but I mean,
proper healthcare, proper everything, kind of thing, because everybody comes in with their expertise, and we all have a single vision, kind of thing, and everybody's, appreciated and celebrated for what they do.
I think the point is, are you capable to play, and are you invested in playing in the context of jazz? What you mean? Is that that's what you mean? I think.
Yes.
Now, I mean, the other reflection on music, specifically jazz, is the thread that runs through the music, from when it's originated. It doesn't matter whether it's the specific genre, jazz in this instance, or any other thing, but it always evolves from somewhere. Why do you think, in at least the South African context, we've relegated it? Yet, most of the celebrated creative geniuses in this country and our culture are actually jazz performers or come from that background.
Because they always speak to the truth of life. That is music that speaks to it's a reflection that it speaks to the reflection of our lives. I mean, the earlier jazz, musicians of the 60s and what have you, they were all telling the stories through music of, life back in the 60s, when people were evicted, and people were struggling, and, some, as the Humasikelas and the Miriams had to, leave the country because they were telling the truth through the music. Even today, powers that be are scared of the truth because you're as you stay on stage, you've got an audience. In other words, now you have more power than they do of communicating a message because the audience is there.
But we are free. Why should anyone be scared or people be scared of the truth? I would believe that the whole point of freedom can be tested through the extent to which we tolerate the truth or we welcome the truth.
They pretend to welcome the truth, but they know that the truth is going to remove them from the position because they are not sticking to what the society expects them to do. But I've never been in power, but I see what power does to people.
Okay.
I see what power does to people.
Yes.
And the more power you have, the more you want, and therefore any resistance to it or any mirrored image of what you're doing, you'll obviously fight it back. So.
But I mean. Most of the time, and I'm sure in many interviews that you've conducted with specifically musicians, they complain that there's not enough support in the country. I'm not talking about just performers only, but musicians generally.
Oh, yeah.
You go along with that view that our society does not support the arts enough, and if that is the case, what could we be doing more of?
Do you know that the sad part is that we grew up listening to American music, watching American movies, watching everything American, style and what have you, and what is that? That's the American culture, the black culture in particular. Because America knew very well that the only way to influence the world is go and sell our culture.
Yes.
They were deliberately selling their culture to the rest of the world because then we just want to be like Americans.
We welcome
that because we think that's... So the sad part is that our country, we don't see how our culture is the most important export we can ever have to influence the world, about just not us, but in the continent, And it's said that it is always at the bottom of the rank in terms of support and funding. During the lockdown, the artists were the only people who were keeping people hopeful and sane
yes.
to survive these lockdowns and this period of struggle and with no money, with not knowing what's going to happen. You got family members dying left, right, and center. It's the music that kept you from going bananas. It is the radio. You'd listen to the radio because it kept you connected to somebody, to some other people. The fact that we don't see that as so crucial, again, coming back to our mental wellness, it's sad,
And it shouldn't be. It's something...
It shouldn't be, yes.
It's something that can be improved.
Absolutely. It just needs to be elevated in terms of priority for what it represents for our society.
You know, you've been doing broadcasting from your university days.
Yeah.
Still a young woman who's still still young now.
Yeah, still a young girl.
At least looking at you now.
Namanje nje ngiseseyitshitshinya.
And then the work we do consistently tends to define you as well, right? People associate you with it. You say Nothemba, and then it's jazz and broadcasting.
In the meantime, I listen to all types of music, and but it's fun.
But having said that, I mean, by virtue of doing what you do consistently at the top level, says a lot about you. What have you learned from your work through the experiences you've had over the years?
I've learned, because the work that I do has also made me travel. I've traveled to jazz festivals. I've traveled and met a lot of people, a lot of artists on the continent and internationally. And also the most important thing that I've learned is that we are a powerhouse as Africans. Because you go out there and you think the world is better out there. Neges. If only we could realize that, how powerful and brilliant and just absolutely amazing people that we are. And it takes a lot for anyone to, especially if you've lived under a thumb, or especially as a black person, as a woman, to actually realize the reason why I'm constantly being subjugated is because the person who's doing it recognizes the powerhouse that I am, and they don't want it to blossom, because then it becomes obvious. Then, Pella, this person, is not as fantastic as they think. Oh, they are selling us to be. The same reason.
It's like a threat to let's say, to the oppressor, or the one who's got the intention of oppressing.
The same thing with racism. It's because they realize the power of the black people, and because then it will expose their lack of it.
But why, if that's the case, do black people themselves seem not to be aware of that fact, from your own experience and observation?
Pela, the psychological effect of being, look at how long it has taken women to come out of their shells, when we've always believed we are secondary to men. Our purpose in life is to serve, is to grow up, just make sure you are fertile, find a husband, give children, look after the home, and be a grandmother and look after your grandchildren and die.
And that's the sum total.
That's the purpose of your life, kind of thing. But look at how much we have missed out on what women could have contributed into this world had they been given a chance. Same thing with, as black people had,
You've expressed disappointment in certain things, like lack of support for the arts, and other things that, to use your word, you say, it's very sad what you've observed. But I'm sure there are uplifting things that you have experienced, and even when you may go through moments when things are not so cool, you remind yourself of those.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm saying, but at the same time, I'm mentioning those things because then it becomes even more exciting when you see the shooting of these flowers out of this, symmetry of, kind of thing. And what I am loving is I'm seeing a lot of young people who are saying, "Nee, man, no." As much as I understand what my parents went through, and this is why they think the way they think. I am not going to stay there. I see the world is my oyster, and I am going to make sure that I'm going to blossom out of it. That's what I'm loving.
Tell me about those that impress you.
For instance, this past Sunday on my show, I was interviewing a band called The Brother Moves On, young gentlemen whose message in the music is about, getting people being aware of things that are happening and doing something about it. Be it aware of the fact that as much as we are apparently free, we are really not. And it has to take extra effort for us to get the freedom that, we want. I'm just loving the fact that they are conscious. It's the consciousness for me of what is happening that impresses me. And that says to me, no, our future is going to be okay with young people like that.
And tell me about the contribution made by women performers, generally, particularly in the jazz space. And I know that you've got a special interest over and above general everyday interest.
Yes, in fact, in my company, I do events that are just focused on women only in jazz, simply because they need to also be leaders. Because half the time women in the music space are either a backup singer
in the background
or,
and not foreground.
or they're just the vocalists, when in actual fact, there are a lot of women who have gone and studied music, and they can be leaders in the space. And also because, as has been in the past, when a woman comes in, you're gonna play a guitar or you're gonna play a saxophone. They are not looking at this instrument you're playing. They are looking at how big you are, what's your style, Moriro Yang, and
not your performance.
Not your performance. And so it's very important that for women to break out of that space and own their position in as leaders in that space. And I love that they're coming out. They are, and it's the younger ones.
Yeah.
That's the part that, gives me fulfillment.
But tell me about a woman in jazz who impresses you the most, whether South African or in the world, that to you epitomizes exactly what you've
always
told.
hate that question because
it doesn't matter. If it's the same answer, it's okay.
No, because it's like I'm choosing.
Yes.
And the other thing is that the importance about jazz music, because jazz music also just reaches into your soul and your emotions. So it just depends on where your emotions are at that time and point. So even with my choice of I like so and so, it's because of what mind space.
But here's the thing. What I mean is okay, all right.
So I'm putting that precursor simply because I want to say, for instance, even also the sound of jazz is also changing.
Yeah.
And thanks to the young people as well, because they are now introducing different the styles and elements into the music that is also making younger people appreciate more and appreciate jazz. So the likes of the freedom that these young people are getting in expressing themselves in anyhow with no rules. The Gloria Bosmans, the Zoe Mudijas, it's no longer confined to what other people were saying, because a lot of people copied what Americans did. So how did Sarah Vaughan do it, or now it's like you're finding you.
Yes.
You know, who is you? And you is also based on where you come from. You're telling your story and your family, your tradition. So it's the Africanness that is being brought into the music. And those are the musicians that I love, who are bringing that texture that you won't find overseas, that they want.
Sure.
You see.
And the industry has recognized you too, right? How do you feel about that? I mean, they celebrate you.
I appreciate it, even though it's like I'm just doing what needs to be done, you know. And I'd like more people doing what I'm doing. Really, I would really like more people doing what I'm doing. And it will happen only if there are more platforms that are opened up for what I'm doing, you know. And thank God now that we've got the internet, and it's opening up other platforms, you know, where people, because there are a lot of people who want to do things, but you can't just depend on the mainstream media only now. Now that these other opportunities where now you actually have access to the world.
Well, obviously, a lot of people look up to you and appreciate your views on the variety of few topics that we've covered. But life teaches you things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Over time, whether it be in a professional setting or a personal setting. But there's what I would call life lessons somehow.
Yeah.
A much younger Nothemba out there, listening, watching you, says, I love Nothemba. I appreciate what she's all about and what she's done. But what is it that you've learned that you would share for free with any aspiring person who wants to get themselves together?
I've learned a lot of things, Tim. You know, I've also grown through my experiences in life. When I was young, I was shy. No one can believe. Sometimes I'm shy even now. But a lot of things you learn, you know, to gain the confidence, and a lot of you burn along the way, and you nurse the wound, and you fall along the way. You pick up your pieces. But for me, it's like, you know, when you find your passion, and you're lucky when you do find your passion. Just don't let anyone distract you from it. It'll take a lot of work. It'll take time. There's no quick fixes. There are no shortcuts into it. The more you put into it, in the work, and just empowering yourself about this passion that you have, I think it's the reason why one then is able to do what I do for as long as I've done it.
And there's no stopping anytime soon? Not that I'm asking you should.
Why? Stop, why?
Yes.
You know, there's work to be done.
Yeah.
Why must you stop, you know? Especially if you're enjoying what you're doing, you know. There's no, again, comes back the ageism thing, you know. Oh, why are you not on television in the mainstream when a team? Why?
I'll tell you, I mean,
you know what I think?
Yes.
It's like just the same thing, you know, even with us. It's while other countries around the world celebrate experience and, you know, and the fact that this is a person who others can learn from. More, you know, more higher, no. You know, there's a wrinkle there, you know.
Yeah.
There's a gray hairs there. No. It's like we're scared of growing old, you know, and celebrating our elders or the people who be, you know, because we're scared because we don't know. We're not prepared for that life, or we want, again, you know, 2-minute noodle life.
Well, it's amazing. You're right. I mean, we were talking about this the other day with some friends that, you know, it took a much younger person like, let's say, Michael Jackson, using the American example, to identify somebody much older, like Quincy Jones, and they collaborate, and then we know What they achieved was quite a phenomenal thing that's still going to be topped.
Yeah.
I don't know when, sometime in the future, but we know what they created. Well, I'd like to conclude by saying, as long as there is jazz, there will always be Nothemba Madumo. And as long as there is Nothemba Madumo, there will always be jazz. And the artists at home, whether there's money supporting or not supporting, at least you've got your number one supporter here with us on the Tim Modise Connection. I appreciate the time we've spent here.
Thank you very much for having me, Tim, and I've enjoyed our conversation, and especially the fact that you've given me an opportunity to also express the importance of what I do and how it supports and affects other people as well.
Forever Jazz is where we should reach you if we want to connect.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. There she is, Forever Jazz, aspirant musicians, fantastic show she has over the weekends on Metro FM. Be a guest on that show. If you have not been, don't worry. In due time, you'll also make it there. And once you've appeared on her show, then you have arrived. Nothemba Madumo, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Tim. Thank you.